Hey, what's up? What's up? What's up? Where? Oh, we got a cat. Good grief. Good timing, right? It's flipping as soon as I hit live. We're streaming. We're doing a thing. I actually spent the nights preparing for some new foray into content creation with some friends, which not related to this channel specifically. That's fine. A bit of a new venture, which I'll probably talk about a little bit more at another point in time when we've got a bit more to share. Nothing huge, but you know, something new and exciting. Kitty cat, come on. He woke up as soon as I changed the scene and then just wants attention, don't you? Hey, don't you want attention? Bad timing. Bad timing. And I'm trying to make sure that my audio sound is alright. Kitty cat. Yeah, that's fine. Whoa, get up, get up. Change the scene. Get up. Alright. So it's been a little while. I tossed up a little bit what I would want to do tonight if I was going to stream. I managed to make it to flippin' midnight before I finally hit go live by the time I messed around with a bunch of stuff. Hush. I do want some sort of visibility on chat. And there's been a couple of things that sort of got me close to streaming recently. There's been a lot going on in the world, so to speak. Unfortunately, a not insignificant part of that is Twitter just turning to complete shit. And it being a lot harder to sort of bring myself to sort of be out there and participating in the discourse where a lot of the narrative is happening and stuff. And bumped all the stuff, and that's just made me sad, really, really sad overall. But hey, that's all right. We find new ways to interact with the internet. It's like kind of being sad that GeoCities is gone, being sad that ICQ's gone, being sad that Yahoo Chat's gone. Like, Twitter's just gone. Like, Twitter is just over. I still log on maybe once or twice a week. It's still on my phone, although I get unreasonably angry when I jump on my phone and I type in tweet to bring up the app, and it doesn't work anymore because the app has changed its name. I think I can still use Twitter in the search bar when I'm jumping on a browser. But man, what was it today? Today I logged on to Twitter, and the first thing I found was a tweet that was served to me through the algorithm, which was a Twitter Blue user, of course. But what was worse, it was a Twitter Blue user who used presumably all the characters. I don't know how many characters. Like, it felt like it was like an 800-word flippant essay about how they felt that the expectation for them to use pronouns for people was a equivalent impost on them as if we were to ask them to deny their faith, which they felt like they had the right to practice their belief in Christianity, explicitly this one. And like, it's just not like, and it got all this positive sort of feedback, because I mean, that's what you see first, because you see Twitter Blue users first in the replies. People going, oh great, can I use this? Can I copy this? And yeah, no worries. Like, you know, oh yeah, you expressed this so well. And not at one point did anyone stop and think, hey, acknowledging the beliefs that others have is sort of inherently part of freedom of religion and freedom from religion. And so in the way that you would acknowledge that someone else refers to themselves and would like to be referred to as a particular gender actually says nothing about your personal belief. They sort of went into all the details of, you know, whether or not there was more than male and female genders. I think there was stuff about the nature of reproduction and stuff. And like, none of that was asking them to make a statement of belief. It was just asking them to refer to people in the way in which they prefer to be referred. It's kind of like the argument sort of seemed really similar to being like, hey, I can't call you a liar because I don't believe lying is good. Lying's a sin, so I can't use the word lying. Like, I can't describe someone as a liar because I'm describing what is something that I consider sinful. And not to suggest in any way that, being trans is a negative attribute, but because that's their mind frame, that they justify the fact that they'll justify not using language that describes what they think is sinful is just incongruent with the way they treat any other sin that they perceive at least as a sin, which just boggles my mind. But that's Twitter. That is Twitter at the moment. That is X. If it's not Elon Musk, or if it's not Jordan Peterson, or if it's not Ben Shapiro, or if it's not Matt Walsh, like, it's someone. And, people I don't even know that are being promoted and sent to me, and like, that's just what I see when I open up, and it sucks. It really sucks. It's, I sort of think back to, would it have been 2019? It might have been 2019 when I started this channel. Let's have a look. It's probably better if not that window. Probably better if I bring the window over here where I can see it a little bit better. Like, it's just funny that it's been around for so long, and to sort of finally be at the point where it's like, yeah, it's done, it's over. And not in the it's gonna die away. Like, I mean, it has changed from what it was. I don't think anyone would deny that. I suppose they'd deny whether or not it's a bad thing or whether it's turned into something bad. 3 years, yeah. So it would have been 2020 when I started, and like, I went to Twitter to find community, to find like-minded people. Like, at that time, particularly, it was atheists. And now that just doesn't exist there. There's people I can think of that are probably, like, if I search, I'd probably find them, but they don't show up in the algorithm. And the reality is, like, I don't think anyone would necessarily expect people to jump onto Twitter and to, like, explicitly go, okay, I'm going to look at this person, I'm going to look up this person and see where they're at. Like, you sort of need the social media site to, like, understand what you're there for. Unfortunately, Twitter has become something that is explicitly about impacting people rather than serving people's, desire to contact with people. Like, it's about suggesting narratives, suggesting things, and just not really at all helpful for what I sort of expect out of it. Now, unfortunately, my Twitter is incredibly not safe for work. I can't scroll on stream, so to speak. I should see if I can find it. Find the tweeting question. I remember the last time I sort of streamed relatively regularly-ish. And I had this issue where, like, I talking about trans issues felt really intrusive, but, like, it's such a common narrative now that is being sent out by everyone that is on the right, that it kind of feels almost now like it's incumbent upon everyone who is supportive of, trans people to actually address the discussion points to a certain extent. Not to speak for or speak over, but to acknowledge that it's ridiculous. It's absolutely obscene the way it gets discussed online. Okay, I really can't, like, scroll. I'm going to be really careful. There's a Pain cosplayer. I swear it's the time of day too. Like, when it gets close to midnight Australia time, what the fuck is this? Something about, oh god, some sort. See, this is peak Twitter at the moment. Like, there's some sort of discussion about whether glasses are natural or not. I don't even want to get into that. Muppets content, hooray! LGR, lazy game reviews, that is. Anthony Albanese. Oh man, it's always when I stream that it never shows up again. and undermines my entire point that it's becoming a cesspit. It definitely does feel like it must be somewhat driven by activity from like when people in America are more active. One Piece memes, nice. The live action, fantastic. Absolutely loving it. Wait, what the? Is this a promoted tweet? It is. What the fuck is this? Which button is it? This one. All right. This is the absolute contradiction that is Twitter. Someone is paid to advertise on Twitter a mask skull, right, with blackout mesh. Looks fantastic. Like, you know, looks fine. Looks fine. Whatever. Link to get it. All right. And bam. There's a community note pointing out that it's a dropshipper selling a product that's available from AliExpress for $15 and they're selling it for $40. That's amazing. If I put an ad on Twitter and like I got community notes like that, I'd be absolutely pissed. Like, I mean, at what point is the profit margin acceptable? I mean, this is a silly disposable item, and like arguably, like a lot of that $25 profit is, you know, presumably you'd hope it's because they keep things in stock. Let's click the link. Oh wait, no, that was the community notes link. Oh, that's funny. Doesn't say how long the shipping is. Like, yeah, definitely. Like, if the shipping's like, you know, if they're just drop shipping it from Alibaba, that's a bit different. Hey Rex, how's it going, man? How is it going? You'll be happy to know that I've got some stuff coming up with some friends where hopefully we'll be streaming a bit more often, doing some gaming stuff, which should be interesting. I can't let the cat out of the bag, but it's got something to do sometimes with ChatGPT, but not always. We were messing around tonight, trying to set everything up so we know how we were going to connect to each other and how I was going to stream the three of us all together. But yeah, I think we're a couple of weeks away from actually being able to start. SarurDAZE. It's Saturday. Well, I suppose it's Sunday now, isn't it? But when I technically started the stream, it was SarurDAZE. I play on words, if you know what I mean. It's like when I've done streams on Fridays, they're Fridays, because I'm in a daze because of all the dumb shit. Because I'm scrolling through fucking Twitter. Can't find what I was thinking of, but that's alright. It be like that sometimes. Yeah, no, I gotta start saving stuff when I see it. If I don't save it when I see it, it just disappears into the ether. Ah, goddamn. The fuck is that? Got a new graphics card too, which is how we've got the bokeh. A fancy 4070. Not quite top of the line or anything. Distinctly mid-range, but hey. I theoretically can play Starfield at ultra settings at least, which is nice. Though unfortunately, when I try to stream and play Starfield, it's does not like for some reason it makes my camera stutter. which I wouldn't have thought. Even when I turned off the NVIDIA broadcaster filters, it still doesn't like it, which not sure what that's all about. Elon Musk talking about Ukraine and Starlink. I really don't have a plan, do I? All right. Shh, close this page. We'll go back to the original idea. I don't think I've added anything. I think it's all the same stuff. I think it's just that the I might have the lights up a bit higher actually, and also the I think in the past I've like had really dark, moody lighting, which yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think the bokeh helps a lot. It sort of takes out the messiness over here because like those aren't lit properly and they look a bit meh. All right, let's doom scroll a little bit on YouTube since YouTube's safe for YouTube since it's YouTube. Oh, check this out. Wait, no, that one. Oh, look, background removal. That's using AI on the graphics card. Why do I not have YouTube Red on my alt accounts when it's linked to my accounts with YouTube Red? Or is that ad... Wait, do I get fucking ads in the YouTube thumbnail thing? Fucking Jordan Peterson clips. Let's have a look.
Soldier.
Shut up. What the fuck has he been going on about? I'm curious. Oh no. Rich men, hard times. Porn. It's destroying young men. Man, when I was a young man, the amount of innovation and work you'd go through to find porn was a good way to exercise some problem-solving skills. Like, how do I obtain it? How do I hide it? Oh, that's right. He went to court with the College of Psychologists in Ontario. I forgot about that. Jordan Peterson on forgiveness. Is this actually Jordan Peterson's page? Presumably. Oh, I know what we'll do. He recently had a debate on the existence of God with a guy called Matt Dillahunty. YouTube, why can't I click links, YouTube? Come on. Oh, jeez. That's what I do for, like, not being able to see. There we go. Wait, what? Probably because of the dot, hey? The, Jordan B. Peterson. Pharaoh versus God. What? Talking to... Oh, my God. 10 months ago. Why are you showing me this? Oh, God. These are These are fucking forever long. Vivek. Fantastic. Okay, I see why he has the other channel, because these are interminably long. Kind of like me pattering around, not having anything planned for this because I was distracted. Wait, Ben destroys Matt Walsh? Weird. This is funny too, because this is like the channel I made that I don't really use at all. Like I've used it in a couple of streams, and I was partly curious to see, like, without explicitly like searching for too much, like, what does YouTube show you? And like, oh my god. I mean, 4K drone footage, that's pretty cool. Signs a shy person likes you. Wait, Carlos Santos. Sky News Australia. I don't know who Carlos Santos Santana is. So I'm not losing it. I'm not going to take the bait. Qantas Fallout. No frying. Oxford mathematician destroys atheism. Daily dose of wisdom. Let's have a look.
What I am amazed at is that serious thinkers today continue to ask us to choose between God and science. That's like asking people to choose between Henry Ford and engineering as an explanation of the motor car.
What you're about to listen to is absolutely exceptional. It's John Lennox with Oxford Union making his case for God. It's extremely dense. He packs a lot into a little amount of time. So feel free to pause, rewind, whatever you need to make sure that you're really grasping each and every idea that he lays out. With that being said, let's go ahead and dive in.
I believe in God.
My knob didn't work. $5 says it is going to be God ordered the universe, and that's why mathematics describes God. It is the language of God, and you can't understand mathematics without understanding God. My guess.
I believe in the supernatural God who created the heavens and the earth.
Getting his way.
I believe in a God who holds the heavens and the earth in existence.
I wonder what this, like, what is this get together? At what point do you get together in what looks like a government, like, it looks like not a courthouse or anything, but it looks like a formal place for people that are important, and they're listening to a mathematician talk about
I
God.
believe that on the basis of rational evidence. And as we look at the rise of science in the 16th and 17th centuries,
the rise of science being famously inversely linked with the belief in God. You actually have fewer people believe in God the more they understand about the world around them.
North Whitehead and many others commented that men became scientific because they expected law in nature, and they expected law in nature because they believed in a lawgiver. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not ashamed of being both a scientist and a Christian, because arguably Christianity gave me my subject. What I am amazed at is that serious thinkers today continue to ask us to choose between God and science. That's like asking people to choose between Henry Ford and engineering.
I mean, that's not true. Like, it's more that when science comes in and starts to explain things that are presumed to have been explained by supernatural phenomenon, that there becomes that conflict, and then people are asked to make a decision. So it's like when there are discoveries made about the nature of the early planet, like the development of species through evolution, natural selection, the age of the universe is found, and when that directly conflicts with particular types of religions, that's when people are asked to make a distinction between, like, well, can you hold that belief that you think it's a 6,000-year-old Earth? While we have this evidence that, directly challenges that, and they come up with other reasons around it and stuff, but it's not that Christians are being asked to make a decision until there's actually a conflict, and they've actually got to, they're the ones that need to wrestle with the fact that they've got a presupposition on the nature of the world, or they've got a belief that's been handed to them on this is how the world works. When science finds out that that's not the case, I don't think that's science being out of place. I think that's a problem that Christianity needs to manage itself, and lots of places do manage that. They generally manage it through reassessing their doctrine, reassessing their theological statements, to be more in line with what scientists do find. But unfortunately, it does mean that as science does make new discoveries, it kind of shrinks the things on which religion are able to talk about without having to, face, facts that are unearthed and are demonstrated by science.
As an explanation of the motor car.
So good.
When Newton discovered his law of
What is good
gravity,
there?
he didn't say, I've got a law, I don't need God. No, he wrote the Principia Mathematica, arguably the greatest work in the whole history of science.
I hope he brings up evolution.
Because he saw that God is not the same kind of explanation as a scientific explanation. God doesn't compete. Agency does not compete with mechanism and law. Why is there something rather than nothing? Alan Sandage, the brilliant cosmologist who became a Christian in his 50s, said God is the answer to that question. But people are now so desperate to show that the universe created itself from nothing, which seems to me to be an immediate oxymoron. If I say X created Y, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of Y. If I say X created X, I'm assuming the existence of X to explain the existence of X, which simply shows that nonsense remains nonsense even if high-powered scientists.
I mean, that doesn't change when God explains your creation narrative, right? Like, you can't say, well, the universe can't create itself, so God created the universe. But then who created God? And then they will resort to, well, God is eternal, exists out of time, so that question actually doesn't make any sense because of the way I've defined God. But I mean, it's the same problem. It's the same issue of circular reasoning, of, it becoming non-logical to, even ask the question. And so, yeah,
Utter it.
That might be worth rewinding in case you missed it the first time. That is such a good point.
It reminds me a little bit of G.K. Chesterton, who said, it's
funny that I addressed that before the guy came on, but hey, whatever.
It's absurd to complain that it is unthinkable for an unthinkable God to make everything out of nothing and then to pretend that it is more thinkable that nothing should turn itself into everything. The heavens declare the glory of God, says the ancient psalm. And we've unraveled a bit of that, seeing the fine-tuning of the fundamental forces of nature. It's something that's so striking to scientists that it demands explanation. And it seems to me that Arno Penzias hit it right. He is the Nobel Prize winner who discovered the microwave background on which a lot of the evidence for the Big Bang is based. He said astronomy leads us to a unique event, a universe which was created out of nothing, one with the very delicate balance needed to provide exactly the right conditions required to permit life, and one which has an underlying, one might say, supernatural plan. But I want to come to what I think is...
That was just rhetoric. That had nothing to do with his discovery. That had nothing to do with... That didn't interact with his research on microwaves. Nothing to do with mathematics yet, which Oxford mathematician destroys atheism, 15-minute brilliancy.
Is one of the fundamental arguments for theism. I take it this house believes in reason. That's why we're all here. And as a scientist, I believe that the universe is rationally intelligible. That is something that has struck some of the geniuses of science as demanding an explanation. Einstein said...
See, it's curious that, like, he's appealing to rationality and that the world is intelligible, and that is, part of his evidence for God. Yet the Bible talks about God being mysterious and God's ways being unknowable by mankind. And so if you were actually able to make any rational understandings of the universe come forward through investigation and through learning, that's actually not in line with the Bible. The Bible would suggest that that's probably actually something that we wouldn't be able to understand because God's ways are so much higher than man's ways. But apparently that's an argument for God rather than an argument against God. I'm just a humble atheist that would say that the more that we can understand the universe and the natural processes which led to the current state it's in, the less likely we are to find evidence of God. But hey,
the only incomprehensible thing about the universe is that it's comprehensible. And Wigner talked about
there's so much we don't know about the universe. So again, that's even demonstrably wrong. Like we know a lot about a tiny part of it. We know a lot about the part of the universe that we actually live in. And even then, like what happens at like the depths of the ocean is almost like I think the moon is technically better understood than like the deepest parts of the ocean because we just haven't been there. Something Logitech controller.
the unreasonable effectiveness of mathematics. How is it that a mathematician thinking in her head in here can come up with equations that seem to fit the universe out there? Well, how is it indeed?
Sorry, did he just ask how can inside thoughts describe outside phenomenon, particularly with the relation to mathematics? Mathematics is an abstraction of what we observe in the world. It's describing what we see. It's not that hurts my head. Like it's not like these two things happened and it just happened to line up. It's like no, people look and they can see there's two rocks, 1, 2, mathematics. And then they get more complex, and when they go, well, that's moving really fast and time is passing, so the speed is distance over time. Or they go, if I throw this rock, oh, that hurts. If I throw a feather, oh, it's okay, so there's a different amount of force. So how do we figure out force? Well, it's mass times acceleration. Like the observations of the world. Like it's
because
wild.
the irony of the atheist position here is evident. My atheist friends, and I have many of them, tell me that the driving force of evolution, which eventually produced our human cognitive faculties, reason included, was not primarily concerned.
If he says random chance, or if he alludes to random chance, do I just stop the video there? Because that's just over. Like if he appeals to fine tuning, and that there was not enough, like the fact that we are this complex that we couldn't explain it, maybe that's the end of the video.
Concerned with truth at all, but with survival. And we all know, ladies and gentlemen, what has often happened and still happens to truth when individuals or commercial enterprises or nations feel themselves threatened and struggle for survival. A leading philosopher, Alvin Plantinga of Notre Dame, says if atheists are right that we are the product of mindless, unguided natural processes, then they have given us strong reason to doubt the reliability of human cognitive faculties, and therefore inevitably to doubt the validity of any belief that they produce, including their atheism. Their biology and their belief in naturalism would therefore appear to be at war with each other in a conflict that has nothing at all to do with God.
So that's okay. So fair cop, didn't go for the random chance, so unlikely that we need to believe in God, but did appeal to the idea that if atheists don't have a core, it's falling back to the, if you don't have a core truth giver, then your truth can't be substantiated. So you can't trust what your claim is because you've got no basis on which you can assess truth. And so your very claim that there is no God defeats itself because you've got no basis on which to make that claim, which is silly because it's only talking about, like, it sort of atomizes people to the individual. So like the idea that I can't trust my senses, right? So if I see something, I don't because my eyes are dog shit. And so if I say, I saw this person, I think it was a guy, they might have had a beard, I'm not sure. Like I can't trust my faculties. But if 10 people see that person and they, 8 people are like, yeah, it was a guy. 7 people are like, yeah, he had a beard. 8 people like a blue shirt, was wearing cargo. Like, you can actually assess the validity of, people's claims based on how easy it is to reproduce it through other people substantiating their experience. And that's actually the scientific method. Like that's actually what professors do. Maybe this is in Oxford, actually, Oxford University. So like a scientist won't do something by themselves in a bubble and go, I figured it out. They will figure out a way to actually do it in a controlled manner, in a repeatable manner, so many people can observe it, and so a truth claim can be built up through a collection of experiences that can then be trusted because we've adjusted for human inerrancy.
Yet my atheist friends still insist that it is rational for them to believe that the evolution of human reason was not directed for the purpose of discovering truth. And yet it is irrational for me to believe that
I feel very confident to say that their position is being misrepresented, that survival was the main reason for which our cognitive ability developed. But you've got to anchor that with survival is inherently linked to understanding the truth of a situation. It's the, is there a tiger behind the bush, right? Like if we can make assessments that are true and accurate to the circumstances we're in, we're able to better make decisions to ensure that we come out of those circumstances in the most beneficial way possible. So if we think there's a tiger behind there, we turn around and leave and get away. If we know that berries grow on these trees, if we know that we can eat that meat, if we know that water is found in these types of areas, like we actually develop survival through our ability to evaluate the truth of, you know, our beliefs or understandings of the world around us. So it actually isn't at all something that is in competition with survival and truth.
human reason was designed and created by God to enable us to understand and believe the truth. Curious logic. By contrast with that, biblical theism asserts that ultimate reality is personal and intelligent, and the reason science works, and this was the motivating force that drove the great pioneers of science, is that the universe out there and the human mind in here that does the science.
This guy added nothing to this. Like, what the hell? Has he not seen Reactgate with, like, Hassan and XQC? Does he not know he's meant to be actually adding to the video? Like, fucking hell. Like, look, I'm 6 minutes in. I've been talking about this for what?
Are ultimately
15 minutes?
The product of the same intelligent divine mind. Human beings are made, we are told, in God's image. And that means that science can be done. That makes infinitely more sense to me as a scientist than atheism does. Now let me come briefly to ethics. Ethical behavior, like rational behavior, of course, does not itself require religious belief. This is consistent with the fact that humans are created in God's image as rational moral persons. But just as I
Do you get his, what was behind his ear?
created in God's image as rational moral persons. But just as I suggest that rationality cannot be explained without the existence of God, so I dare to suggest that the existence of morality cannot be explained either. As modern science sprang from Judeo-Christian sources.
What? I did not pause there on purpose. I paused there because I was just like, this is the most boring apologetics. Like, now we're down to, like, you can't be ethical without God. Everyone's ethical, therefore there must be a God. Never mind the fact that not everyone has the same ethics. And principally, the ethics that are shared, you know, more universally amongst humans are sort of the very basic ones that can actually be linked to the reduction of harm. And the reduction of harm can actually inherently become a selfish motivation. So, for example, I won't steal from you because it's understood by me that if I don't steal from you, you're less likely to steal from me. And it kind of becomes like the golden rule, right? Which Christianity claims as one of its principles is do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But that actually is something that expands, like, it's not unique to Christianity. It's actually something that's quite inherent in human nature. Now they look at it and they go, well, that's proof that Christianity is, you know, truth, because we've got this thing that is inherent to all people. But like, it seems more rational to me, and I'm not a scientist, granted, but it seems more rational to me that the Christian scriptures which describe it are describing a phenomenon that is inherent in people, in the same way that you might have, like, other cultures might use their religious texts to describe the things that they see. Like, indigenous Australians, they tell a story about the rainbow serpent being the one that carved out like the rivers and the lakes and the land and the sky. And the fact that we have rivers and lakes doesn't prove that there was a rainbow serpent, in the same way that just because there's a Christian passage that describes ethical considerations doesn't mean that it's the source of ethics either. Particularly since those ethical considerations well before Christianity, and there's a lot of stuff that Christians have done in the last 2,000 years that are not in line with an ethical framework that I might want to link with a God who is supposed to be all-knowing. But hey, that's just me.
So did the concept of human equality. Listen to atheist Jürgen Habermas, arguably one of Germany's leading intellectuals. He said that universalistic egalitarianism, from which sprang the ideals of freedom and a collective life and solidarity, the individual morality of conscience, human rights and democracy, is the direct legacy of the Judaic ethic of justice and the Christian ethic of love.
I don't know who that is, but I feel like you've got to give the Greeks a bit more credit for democracy. Anyway.
Legacy, substantially unchanged, has been the object of continual critical appropriation and reinterpretation. To this day, there's no alternative to it. Everything else is just idle postmodern talk. And it seems...
Who was that?
Judaic ethic of justice. Listen to atheist Jürgen Habermas, arguably one of Germany's leading intellectuals. He said that universalistic egalitarianism, from which sprang the ideals of freedom and a collective life and solidarity, the individual morality of conscience, human rights and democracy, is the direct legacy of the Judaic ethic of justice and the Christian ethic of love. This legacy, substantially unchanged, has been the object of continual critical appropriation and reinterpretation. To this day, there's no alternative to it. Everything else is just idle postmodern talk. And it seems to me he's hitting the core of something important, because the value of a human being on which such egalitarianism rests is based not on what the human being can do, but what she's made of, or how she's made in God's image. I never forget speaking on one of my many visits to Russia to a colleague in the Academy of Sciences. And he said, John, we thought we could abolish God and retain a value for human beings. We found we couldn't, and we murdered millions of them. And Alexander Solzhenitsyn has said, if I'm asked, why is it that 60 million of my fellow countrymen were sacrificed? He said, the answer is, we have forgotten God. Science, of course...
Atheist countries tend to have a lower crime rate than religious countries. Weird, right? Like really strange, unusual. Can't explain it.
Marvelous that it is limited. Even a Nobel Prize winner, by analyzing a cake, cannot tell why it was made. But Aunt Matilda, who made it, can tell you.
Wait, no, I reject that. There's a lot of cakes that you can tell why they were made based on the cake. Wedding cakes, birthday cakes, thank you cakes, farewell cakes, like...
Tell why it was made. But Aunt Matilda, who made it, can tell you. She can reveal it to you. But if she doesn't reveal it to you, you'll never know. And that brings me to my next evidence. It's the same with the universe. We can analyze it magnificently. But ultimately, if it has a maker, and I believe it has, only he can tell us what it's all about.
Whoa. Okay, one of his early points was that because we can understand the universe, it's proof that there's God. And now he's got a proof of God that is, we can't know what the universe is all about until it's revealed to us. That is bullshit, right? You can't have your cake, even if it's from Aunt Matilda, and eat it too. You can't sit here and tell me early on in this destroy atheism proof that we understand the universe, that's proof for God, to then have later on, 9 minutes in, tell me that the fact that we don't understand the purpose of the universe is proof of God. That is ridiculous. That is obscene. That is...
And he's done so in the powerful narrative of the Bible, in particular in its analysis of the problem with humanity, not simply in terms of behavioral breakdown between people, but a vertical breakdown of trust between us and the Creator. The unique solution to that problem is not simply in terms of human ethical development, although that's very important, but in terms of something far deeper altogether. The restoration of the fractured relationship with God through the salvation he has brought through
This
Jesus
is boring
Christ.
Jesus shit.
He it was who not only taught the golden rule, but embodied it.
It's not proof.
in
That's
the
just the
world.
fucking gospel.
This is, of course, ladies and gentlemen, a crunch issue. If Jesus rose from the dead, death is not the end, and atheism is forced to
Now you're just
debauch and
preaching.
dash themselves in vain. Just finally now, as I read the Bible, I do not only find intellectual satisfaction, but I find a great deal of that. I sense the voice of God speaking to me. You say that's intensely personal. But ladies and gentlemen, we've been asked tonight about belief in God. And I want to strongly emphasize that God is not a theory, he's a person. And if
He's a person, why doesn't he just talk to everyone? God, why am I doing atheist shit again?
origination of me qua person is a personal God, then the most exciting thing really is there a possibility of getting to know God?
He's just preaching now.
That has enabled me to face the ugly side of it.
I
What
don't care about your
there is
personal
no
story.
ultimate hope. But you see, ladies and gentlemen, we could stay here till midnight and beyond arguing, as has been done in this university for centuries, what a good God should, might, would, could, if not, possibly might, just could he not have done, and we'll get nowhere. So it seems to me there's another question.
You only get nowhere when you've got people that will defend bad things happening as being the result of the need for justice. But like it's created in their own issue of them having a God who's omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, and yet still allows evil to happen, which it's an impossible problem for them to solve. But then they will just try to patch it with, well, bad things happen because he loves us, and he loves us, so he gives us free will, and we have free will so we can do bad things, and so bad things need to have consequences, because if they don't, then there's no justice, and then he can't be loving if he's not just. But that's all rules that they made up. That's all rules that, I say they, but in their mind, God is responsible directly for making. Like, you can't make an unfair game and then say, well, they're the rules, but you made the rules. It's
we can ask, and it's this. Granted that life is presented.
What is this
with
guy
a double
doing?
Picture.
What is he doing?
We see some.
Like, I was like, you're going to repost the video. He's going to have himself in the like. We're both in the same corner. Do something, Jesus.
Beautiful things. We see some ragged edges. We see hurt and pain, and we see joy.
But ignore the ragged edges. Ignore the pain, because there's joy. There's joy.
How can we come to terms with that? And it seems to me here is no simplistic answer, but a window into an answer, and it's this. If it is actually true that Jesus is, as I believe him to be, the Son of God, then we can ask the question, what is God doing on a cross? And the answer comes back at the very least. God has not remained distant from our human suffering, but has become part of it. And the other side of that is this. Because Jesus rose from the dead, he is going
He's preaching
to
again.
justice. And if death,
Oh,
the
justice.
history of the world have died without justice, it will die without justice. And if death is the end, then of course they have no hope of ultimate justice. But the promise in the New Testament, guaranteed by the resurrection of Jesus, is that he is to be the judge in the reasons.
The spaghetti monsters talk about
That God
This was a sermon. This wasn't proof. It is not lost on me that he is an Oxford mathematician who is providing his evidence for God in whatever that particular audience was, or whatever that setting was intended to achieve. He spent a good 5, if not 7 minutes, doing what I would consider preaching, not presenting evidence. And when I say that, what I mean by preaching is like talking about the theological methods for finding God, as opposed to demonstrations or proofs that God is real. That's why he spent so much time on things like Jesus and the personal nature of God's relationship. But the fact that his field didn't come into it, I thought it was interesting. I feel like if God is real and is demonstrated by the universe, you could use your field, particularly in mathematics, to demonstrate that. And it, unironically, like so many of these come back down to basic sort of Christian thought-stopping claims. So the fact that God is personal, so you can't describe him with a theory. The assumption that, well, if Jesus rose from the grave, then this is all meaningful. Like if God was on a cross and died for our sins, then we have a responsibility to respond. Which again, that is just preaching. Like that is just a sermon to try and get people to, give their life to God, so to speak. So all in all, like I think claiming that this destroys atheism is just fundamentally doesn't understand the feedback that atheists have for Christians when they make the positive claim for God. Certainly, I guess this video is just primarily a fallacious appeal to authority, where they've used an Oxford mathematician's inherent authority as being clearly a very clever man in his field of mathematics, to then present us information that's supposed to be more compelling because it comes from him, when it has nothing to do with his field of expertise. So very curious about that. But let's see how old mate, who spent 14 minutes saying fuck all, what's his summary on this? Knob.
God is real and worthy to be trusted. Thank you.
When Christians talk about God, it is personal. It's not fantasy. It's not the spaghetti monster in the sky. There is a reality of God when you have accepted him on his terms that is completely undeniable. It is as undeniable as my relationship with my wife in the other room.
I have a dog. Can't deny it, right? That's my personal testimony. That's my personal experience, is that I have a dog. You can't refute that. That's no different to, and ironically, same letters, no different to people saying I have a relationship with God. Like you can't deny, and no, I can't deny someone's personal experience of how they navigate the world and how they experience the world. What I can say though is that someone's personal experience with God is not evidence of God being real. It's something that I've experienced. Like I've experienced the personal relationship with God, and I find it to be something that is mostly an internally focused belief that is a result of wanting something really bad, or of trying to understand the world around you by like framing your thoughts as God. That's my understanding of having a personal relationship with God, and it's something I profess to have for not a small amount of my younger years. And so for me, it feels like as soon as the proof for God is the fact that I have a personal relationship with God, or our friend here has a personal relationship with God, I feel like retreating to making it personal is exactly that. It's retreating from needing to make good quality reasoned claims for why someone should believe in God, because it immediately abdicates rational objectivity and goes straight to personal experiences as being the key ingredient for belief in God. So
If you were to tell me that she's not real, I would laugh at you in the same way that if you were to tell me that God is not real. But that type of knowing is not accessible to someone who hasn't met God on his terms. There's this conceit and this arrogance that actually gets directly in the way of the knowing of God and the relationship of God.
I don't think it's arrogant to not believe in something that you have no direct experience of. Like, I don't think it's arrogant of me to be like, well, I don't know his wife. That's a bad example. Oh, he's got a wife. Like, why? Like, he wouldn't lie about a wife. But that's because I understand the concept of wives. I understand the concept of men marrying women. I understand the concept of Christianity being a religion where marriage is considered quite a important part of people's life journeys. And so from directly observing other people with wives, men and women getting married in Christian churches, I have the ability to draw on that information from past experiences of directly observing this phenomenon and go, yes, you've got a wife. We don't have that same background for God. We don't have that same interaction with God. My interactions with what I perceive to be God turned out to be not reasonable interactions, not interactions that actually were meaningful. And so based on that same experience that I've had, then no, his claim that he's got a wife and his claim that he's got a relationship with God, two very different things. While he might laugh at both of them equally, I mean, that's just him being arrogant about my position, about my experiences. And so, no, it's not arrogant for either side to like have a belief. But I mean, there are arguments on one side that I think are more reliable indicators of truth. So.
And so I just love what Linux says here, because he starts with sort of unpacking like, why is scientism the philosophy of science?
Scientism. I don't think he said scientism, did he?
Is the only epistemology. Why is that reductionistic? Then he walks into human rights, into morality, and ultimately down to the extremely personal level, which is where all of these conversations must end. So all this being said, I hope that someone listening to this, if anyone is still listening to this, appreciated that as much as I did, because I think that it's a mistake to break apart these pieces and to only talk about this, to only talk about.
Well, they weren't actually really well linked. So Daily Dose of Wisdom, 200K subscribers. Look, led to someone getting saved. 4.4K views. See, look at that. I didn't say anything mean
My guest on
or small about that. Why does it keep playing something and then stopping? That's crazy. Is it this
the
one?
podcast today is
Yeah, it is. My story on why I started this channel. Wait, is that the same dude? That must be an old video. No, 1 month ago.
Brandon Maguire from the YouTube channel Daily Dose of Wisdom. Brandon's channel is absolutely flying at the moment, which I love to see because I've been...
Wait. This is a different person. Weird. What else do they post? Darwin never addressed this. I mean, Darwin's not where evolution theory stopped. Darwin debunked. Atheist makes claim with brilliant response. Jesus was not a myth. 15 minutes of evidence. Atheist student asks a tough question. Do you think I'm going to hell? That's not a tough question. That's... Yeah. What? Oh, no. No, not Joe Rogan. Holy shit. Lots of Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan. Okay, confusing Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan exposed to the big questions atheists can't answer. Atheist versus Christian. Mic drop ending. Holy moly. Is this guy a React channel?
By believing in all-powerful deity to escape against your own. This is the holy grail of skepticism.
There is no God, no ultimate purpose, meaning, governance.
I did not claim there's no God.
So you're saying, as an atheist, you accept God's existence now?
No, I'm not convinced that one exists. That's not a claim that he does not.
So
Wait, does this guy just... Oh, no, he interjects there. So he's just chilling for most of these videos.
A matter of going from unbelief in God.
All right. This is where everyone watches. Let's watch from here.
Time, gentlemen. Time.
Let me go ahead and pause here because there's something coming up that's just too good not to feature. So he's saying, I don't have faith, I have confidence. And so let me go ahead and play. This is scrubbing forward like 20 minutes in the debate, but that particular point gets addressed and in a way that's very powerful. Let's go ahead and play it.
Becoming a Christian is not a matter of going from unbelief in God to belief in God. It's going from suppressing the truth to professing it.
They like rhymes.
Our opponents tonight are suppressing the truth about the God that they know exists, that everyone knows exists. Not a sufficient knowledge for their salvation, but a sufficient knowledge for their condemnation.
Is this going to be the mic drop moment? I hate the everyone knows God exists. You're just denying it. You're suppressing it. That's fucking... You want to talk about arrogance? There's arrogance right there.
Bruce doesn't have faith. He doesn't have faith. He has confidence. Confidence. Confide, from the Latin, with faith.
Pretty tough moment in a debate. But I want to say,
it's a non sequitur. It's a non sequitur to take a word that's being used in English and to link it to Latin to prove what the intended use of the word is. Like, faith is definitely not used as a confidence in every setting in Christianity.
say this, it's not about winning, even though that was a winning moment. It's really not about winning the conversation, winning the debate. It is about winning people's souls.
Oh, God. All right. Back to preaching. I don't know if this is an interesting channel. Why Jesus? Is this really Islam? How Christianity is different from every religion? Can morality exist without the Bible? Like, this is really old stuff. Like, why have oh crap, I can't remember his name. That's crazy. That's really Dean in the past. Dawkins, God. I bet he was left speechless because this guy said something stupid. Oh, this is the mathematician. Oh my God. All right, let's go back to our algorithm. I probably got to wrap it up soonish. Oh God, it's after 1. Fucking hell. Google ads. No. Okay, so it is getting my YouTube red, I think, because I didn't get ads before the videos. That's all right. The Uluru statement. Fucking hell. Ben reacts to Jordan Peterson. Oh God, work TikToks. I remember those. The Earth can't be old. Oh, good. I'm getting the. Oh, God. I bet it. I don't want to do Charlie Kirk. 1 year ago. Daily Dose of Wisdom. Okay, cool. Now we're getting Daily Dose of Wisdom. Oh, my music stopped. When did it stop? Ah, look, it's 1:10. Look, most of this was just to test out the streaming stuff. It seems to work fairly well, which is good. But yeah, I think I'll end it there and go get some sleep. It is a good day tomorrow, hopefully. So, but we might try and get back to streaming some more. Like I said, doing something new soon. Hopefully that pans out really well. We'll see how all that goes. But other than that, peace out. Stop streaming.